I am sealed in a steel chamber pressurized to the crush of 430 feet, and there is someone breathing on the comms channel that only my crew and I share. Slow, wet, close to the microphone. The man in the bunk behind me is asleep. I am looking at him right now. His mouth is closed. So I need you to tell me whose breathing I am listening to. My name is Eddie Mercer. I'm 41 years old. I have been a commercial saturation diver for 19 years, and for the last 21 days I have been living inside a steel tube the size of a camper van, pressurized to the same crushing weight as the bottom of the North Sea. I cannot come up. I want to be very clear about that before I tell you the rest, because it is the whole shape of what is happening to me. I cannot come up. My body is saturated with helium at 13 atmospheres. If I surfaced right now, the gas in my blood would come out of solution, like the fizz out of a shaken bottle, and I would die in a way the old hands don't describe out loud. To get me home, they decompress me slowly in the chamber, about a foot a minute on a good day, and from this depth, that takes 6 days. 6 days. That is how long it would take to get me out of here, even if every man on the surface dropped what he was doing right now and tried. Whatever is down here with me knows that. I am certain of it. I am recording this on the helmet camera's audio track and the Bell's backup recorder, both of which write to chips the surface can't reach until this dive is over. If I don't come back up the ladder, somebody will eventually play this. So I'm going to tell it in order. Let me explain where I live, because you need to feel how small it is. There are 3 of us in the sat chamber, me, a Geordie named Robbo, and a young Dutch lad named Peter, on his second ever saturation job. The chamber is welded to the deck of the dive support vessel. We eat through a little airlock they pass food into. We breathe a helium-oxygen mix that turns every word we say into a high, squeaking cartoon voice, and we sleep stacked in bunks while the whole vessel rolls in the swell above us. When it's our turn to work, 2 of us climb through a hatch into the diving bell, a steel sphere bolted under the chamber, and they lower the bell on a cable down through the moon pool, down through 400 feet of black water, to the seabed. One diver locks out into the water to do the job. The other stays inside the bell as bellman, tending his umbilical, the thick cord that feeds the working diver his gas, his hot water, his comms, his life. Everything I am runs through that umbilical. Cut it, and I have about a minute. The water at 430 feet is 4 degrees above freezing, and black as the inside of a coffin. The only light is the lamp on my helmet, and it reaches maybe 10 feet before the dark swallows it. You learn not to think about what's past the edge of the lamp. You learn to keep your eyes on the work. The job is routine. There is an old wellhead on the seabed, a Christmas tree of valves and steel that caps a dead oil well, and the company wants it inspected and a section of pipe reclamped before they abandon it for good. 3 bell runs to finish. I have done 100 jobs like it. There's one thing I didn't think about until later, and I want to put it here, in order, because of where it ends up mattering. When they briefed us on this wellhead, Hutchins mentioned, the way you mention weather, that the field had been worked before. 2 years ago, a different vessel, a different crew, a diver named Calloway. They never recovered him. The official line was an umbilical fouling. His line snagged on the structure. He lost his gas, and by the time his bellman hauled the slack in, there was nothing on the end of it but a cut hose and his helmet, 40 feet east of the wellhead, out along the pipe. I asked Hutchins how a man drifts 40 feet east of the wellhead he's clipped to. He didn't have an answer. Nobody did. The report said Calloway swam there. The report did not say why. I filed it the way you file every dead man's story in this trade. Somewhere you don't keep it. I should have kept it. Because there is one detail from Calloway's dive that I only put together later, sitting in the dark with the recorder. And it is the detail that tells me this thing has been patient for a very long time. Calloway's comms went strange 40 minutes into his run. It went wrong on my second run at exactly the same mark. On comms, it's a small world. When I'm in the water, I hear 3 voices and only 3. I hear Robbo, who's my bellman that run, sitting in the sphere 10 feet behind me, tending my umbilical. I hear the dive supervisor topside, a steady old boy named Hutchins, who has talked more men through more bad moments than anyone alive. And I hear myself. That's it. That's the whole channel. 3 voices and the hiss between them. About 40 minutes into the second run, I was down at the wellhead, wire brushing rust off a flange, when a 4th voice said my name. Eddie. Just that. Low. It came through clear. No helium squeak. None of the cartoon pitch that helium does to every one of us down here. A flat, normal, dry voice, which is impossible, because everyone breathing this gas sounds like a balloon losing air, and the unscrambler that fixes our speech topside doesn't run on the bell channel. I said, "Say again?" Hutchins, topside, said, "I didn't say anything, Eddie. You all right?" Robbo in the bell said, "Wasn't me, mate." I looked at the wellhead. My lamp was on it. There was nothing there but rust and steel and the 2 valve wheels, and the cold. I told myself it was a cross channel. It happens. Sound does strange things at pressure, and a tired brain fills in the rest. I went back to the flange. I finished the run. I climbed back in the bell, we came up to the chamber, and I slept. And I did not write it in the log, because what would I have written? The third run was mine to work and Peter's to tend. The kid was nervous. First sat job, and the bell makes a sound when it settles on the bottom. A long groan as the steel takes the strain that puts the fear in you the first few times. I locked out and swam to the wellhead, paying out my umbilical behind me. I got to work on the clamp. And 40 minutes in, the same 40 minutes I noticed that later, the voice came back. But this time it didn't say my name in its own flat voice. This time it used Hutchins. It had his exact gravel, his calm, the little catch he gets on his S's. It said, "Eddie, come off the wellhead and walk out along the pipe to the east. There's something we need you to look at." And I almost did. I had turned, I had my hand off the clamp. I had taken one kick out past the wellhead toward the dark where the pipe ran east into nothing. Before the real Hutchins came on, and his voice was sharp in a way I'd never heard from him in 19 years. "Eddie, stop. Do not move off that wellhead. Whatever just told you to walk east, that was not me." I hung there in the black water with my lamp pointing east, out along that pipe, into the dark past where the light died. And the dark at the end of my lamp, I want to describe this exactly. The dark did not look empty anymore. It looked like it was waiting for me to come out to it, where the bell couldn't see, where my umbilical would foul on the pipe, where a man could be made to disappear and the surface would only ever know that his line went slack. I went back into the bell so fast I tore the suit on the hatch. Topside, they had heard all of it. That's the part that kept me from telling myself I'd cracked. The voice came through the recorders. Hutchins heard a second Hutchins on his own channel, giving an order he never gave, in his own voice, and there is no equipment on that vessel that can do that. He pulled both other divers, Robbo and Peter, and confirmed every man's mic was accounted for. 4 voices on a 3-voice channel, and the 4th one wearing whichever of us it needed to wear. Hutchins is not a fanciful man. He has buried friends in this trade. He came on the comms after a long quiet and he said, "Eddie, we're calling the dive, on in the water. We'll finish the job another rotation. Get in the chamber and we'll start blowing you down. Start your deco. 6 days in your home. Just hold on and do nothing strange for 6 days. 6 days." That was the first time I heard the thing laugh. It wasn't loud. It came in under the hiss, soft, almost kind. It laughed the way you laugh at someone who thinks they found the exit, when you can see the whole room and they can't. And then, in my own voice, in Eddie Mercer's voice, the one I'm talking to you with right now, it said, "6 days. Good, I like time. If you have made it this far into the dark with me, do me one kindness and subscribe, so the next man who goes down has somebody who'll listen to the recording. Now stay with me, because this is where it came inside." They started lifting the bell. Peter and I sat in the sphere as it rose, watching the depth gauge tick down, and neither of us said a word, because what do you say? The kid was white, he'd heard it too now. Halfway up he whispered to me, off comms, just mouth to ear, the way you do when you don't want the channel to carry it. "Eddie, if it can sound like us, how will they know, topside? How will they know which one of us came back?" I didn't have an answer for him. And that's when the breathing started on the channel. Slow, wet, right up against a microphone. I looked at Peter. His lips were shut tight. His mic was clipped to his chest, and his chest was barely moving. He was holding his own breath, like I was, both of us frozen and silent, while a third set of lungs filled and emptied, slow and unhurried, on a channel that had only the 2 of us on it. I keyed topside. I said, "Hutch, are you hearing this?" And topside, after a moment, in Hutchins's careful voice, said, "Hearing what, Eddie?" I have known Hutchins 19 years. I know his voice the way I know my own hands. And I could not tell you, then or now, whether the man who answered me was Hutchins. That is what it does. It doesn't just take the voice. It takes your certainty that anyone is who they say. It poisons the whole channel, so that every word from every mouth might be it, and you can never again be sure. We docked the bell to the chamber. We climbed up out of the sphere, through the trunk, into the chamber where Robbo was waiting. 3 of us again, sealed in the tube. They equalized the hatch and spun the locking wheel, and we were shut in for the long climb home. 6 days. That's what's in front of me now, in a steel tube I cannot open from the inside, that they cannot open from the outside, without killing me, decompressing one slow foot at a time, while the helium bleeds out of my blood. And I am no longer sure how many of us are in here. There are 3 bunks. Robbo is in the top. Peter is in the bottom. I am at the little fold-down table with the recorder, and an hour ago I did a head count. 3 men, all accounted for, all where they should be, and I felt better for about 10 minutes. Then the comm speaker in the chamber, the little grill in the wall that only ever carries Hutchins's voice from topside, clicked on by itself. Not the chime it makes when topside keys up. Just a click, and then the open carrier, the hiss, the sound of a channel held open from the other end, and the breathing was in the chamber with us. That brings me to now, to why I'm whispering, to why I told you, at the very start, to work out whose breathing I'm listening to. Robbo is asleep in the top bunk. I can see his chest rising, slow and even. Peter is in the bottom bunk, turned to the wall, and I think he's asleep too, though the kid has barely shut his eyes since the bell. The breathing on the channel is slow and wet and close, the same as the bell, the same as the wellhead. I have just done the head count again. 3 bunks, 3 men, Robert top, Peter bottom. But the breathing on the comms is the 4th set of lungs. It has been with me since 430 feet. It walked up the cable into the bell, and it rode the bell into the chamber. And now it is sealed in this tube with me for 6 days, in the dark where no one can open the door. A moment ago, I keyed topside. I asked Hutchins to confirm a head count from the chamber cameras, to tell me how many men he sees in here. And when he answered, it was in my voice. It said, 4, Eddie. It said, there are 4 of you. There have been 4 of you since the second run. I am looking at the bunks now. I am looking at Robbo, asleep, breathing slow and even. I am looking at Peter, turned to the wall, and I am trying to remember which one of them I climbed out of the bell with. Because I only remember one. Peter just turned over in the bottom bunk. He's looking at me. He's smiling. And he hasn't taken a breath this whole time. And